The competition to gain dominance in the global semiconductor industry is heating up, and China is at the center of it all. As we speak, a chip war is raging in China, with multiple players vying for control over the production and distribution of critical computer chips. This conflict has significant implications, not just for the technological landscape, but also for the economy and geopolitical relations between nations. As the world watches this high-stakes competition unfold, the question on everyone's mind is, who will come out on top, and what will be the implications for the industry and the world at large? The stakes are high, and the outcome of this battle will undoubtedly shape the future of the industry and the world at large. Join us in this video as we'll delve into the ongoing chip war in China. The trade tensions between the United States and China have been simmering for some time now and have sparked a new conflict, the China chip war. This intensifying competition between the two countries in the semiconductor industry plays a crucial role in modern electronics. Semiconductors, also known as computer chips, are the building blocks of electronic devices, ranging from smartphones and laptops to self-driving cars and smart homes. China, like many other countries, has been heavily reliant on foreign-made chips, particularly from the US. However, in recent years, the country has been making significant investments to become self-sufficient in the semiconductor industry. The goal is to reduce its dependence on foreign-made chips and gain greater control over the production and distribution of these critical components. This move has raised concern among US policymakers, who fear that China's growing dominance in the semiconductor industry could pose a threat to US national security. As a result, the US has imposed trade restrictions on Chinese tech giant Huawei, which effectively banned it from using US-made chips in its products. This move has forced China to further accelerate its efforts to become a major player in the semiconductor industry, with the government providing funding and incentives for local chip makers. The China chip war has significant implications for the global technology industry. A lack of access to US-made chips could limit China's ability to produce advanced products, which could ultimately hurt its economy. On the other hand, if China succeeds in becoming a major player in the semiconductor industry, it could challenge the dominance of US tech companies and alter the balance of power in the industry. The United States has increased its competition with China in the semiconductor industry. The CHIPS and Science Act, a $52.7 billion industrial program that intends to support research, improve supply chain resilience, and revive semiconductor manufacture in the United States, was signed in by the Biden administration. The government implemented the broadest limitations on China's semiconductor manufacture and industry to date. The supply of advanced process to China is now restricted, depriving Beijing of the computational capacity required to train artificial intelligence on a large scale. Additionally, it expands limitations on chip-making equipment to support sectors of the semiconductor supply chain, cutting off both American labor and the materials needed to produce the chip-making equipment. 2019 saw the inclusion of Huawei on the Entity List, a US blacklist that forbade American companies from selling technology to Chinese companies. The term 5G alludes to the incredibly quick next-generation mobile networks, and this included semiconductors for 5G goods. In 2020, semiconductor restrictions against Huawei were increased, effectively cutting it off from the most advanced chips that it needed for its smartphones. Then, in an effort to deny Chinese companies essential semiconductors that may be used for artificial intelligence and other cutting-edge technologies, Washington imposed further chip curbs last year. The United States is worried that China may employ cutting-edge semiconductors for military applications. Beijing has not received a workable exit strategy from the Biden administration, and neither has the White House insisted that Beijing alter its trading practices or established a timeline for the easing of sanctions. The latest semiconductor sanctions so demonstrate, from the perspective of the Chinese leadership, that the US government is aggressively weaponizing its control over critical technology in order to contain China. As a result, supply chain security was given top attention by the Chinese government. Following similar actions by the US and the Netherlands, the Japanese government says it intends to impose limits on some exports of components used to make computer chips. 23 different types of semiconductor manufacturing equipment will be affected by the regulations. The US and China are embroiled in a nasty trade war over semiconductors, which power everything from mobile phones to military weapons. As a result of export restrictions put in place by Washington, China has frequently referred to the US as a tech hegemony. China or the US were not mentioned in the Trade and Industry Ministry of Japan's statement from Friday. "We are carrying out our duty as a technology nation to support world peace and stability," the ministry claimed. Before the policy is put into effect in July, the public will have the opportunity to comment on it. Yasutoshi Nishimura, the Minister of Trade for Japan, told reporters that the action had nothing to do with American sanctions. "If our exports aren't being commandeered for military purposes, we'll keep doing so. We anticipate that the effects on businesses will be minimal," Nishimura continued. Yoshimasa Hayashi, the Japanese foreign minister, was scheduled to visit Beijing this weekend when the announcement was made, to have an honest and transparent discussion to foster a constructive and solid partnership. Mr. Hayashi said he will meet with his Chinese colleague Qin Zhang. The equipment provided by big technology companies like Tokyo Electron and Nikon will be subject to Japan's regulations. These will have an impact on exports of anything from immersion lithography machines to tools for cleaning silicone wafers. As part of the process of making microchips, lithography machines use lasers to print tiny patterns on silicon. No matter where in the world chips are created, Washington said that it will want licenses from businesses exporting them to China using US equipment or software. The Netherlands and Japan has also received a similar request from the US. The Dutch government announced last month that to safeguard national security, it will impose limitations on the export of its most advanced microprocessor technology. Leslie Schrijnmaker, the Dutch Minister of Commerce, stated that the measures will have an impact on particularly specific technology in the semiconductor production cycle. Without mentioning China or Dutch chip equipment manufacturer ASML, she continued that the government had taken the technological changes and geopolitical environment into account. One of the most significant companies in the worldwide supply chain for microchips is ASML. It produces the most cutting-edge machinery on the planet. Chinese businesses are currently attempting to domestically produce the tools needed for semiconductors. In a speech, Zhu, according to Chinese media, said that Huawei and other local companies have jointly developed the electronic chip design tools required to produce semiconductors with a size of 14 nanometers and above. These tools will be validated this year, according to Zhu, allowing for their use. Although he emphasized that these tools will mean very little for the Huawei business, the rotating chairman did admit that he gave this address. It just indicates that Chinese businesses have the necessary local design skills, he explained. The size of each transistor on a chip is indicated by the number 14 nanometers. The more transistors that can fit onto a single semiconductor, the smaller this transistor must be. Generally speaking, smaller nanoscale chips can be more potent and effective. Nevertheless, Huawei is now having trouble locating semiconductors with a considerably smaller nanometer scale, which they need for more sophisticated applications. The corporation, which is still feeling the consequences of American sanctions, reported on Friday that net profit in 2022 fell by the most ever, 69% year over year. As we have seen, this ongoing battle is one of the most significant technological and economic competitions of our time, with far-reaching implications for the industry and the world. We hope this video has shed light on this critical issue and provided insights into what the future holds for the global semiconductor industry. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the complex and exciting world of China's chip war. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.